you have come into this thing, you can't afford to learn slowly. Do you hear that? So there are some positions that can't afford for you to learn slowly. So the teaching I'm teaching you now are things that you cannot afford not to capture and apply quickly. No, slowly I mean. You have to do it quickly. Because if you don't capture it at the beginning of the year, you might not end well. Okay? So the moment he told me that, I knew this dilly-dallying of saying, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. That had to go out of the window. Let me tell you a secret with my man of God. There is no answer to him like, I don't know. Maybe some of you have come to see him one-on-one. When he asks you something, he does not expect you to say, I don't know. Why? Because he likes to juggle our minds and to encourage us to know something. The way you're talking is like I'm preaching to you about some other man of God. Preaching to us. And I really wanted to get into the scriptures and understand why was it important that we were given men of God? Why is it that God himself saw it fit to send Jesus Christ? Maybe this is too deep. Also, minimize movement, be very sensitive to the Spirit of God. And when you check after the scriptures, you will see from the first person on creation going onwards, there was something about fatherhood. There was something about them having a man of God. Let's jump to Elijah. That's the one we know more, right? Elijah and I kept asking myself, Lord, why is it that you see it fit to be able to use men and women instead of you coming to us yourself? When I was younger, my dad used to tell us, there is no day God will come and sit on the couch and say, Rosemary, I am God. I have come to tell you. He will always use man. Now let's even move on the pastoral part of it, of a man of God preaching to you. In any blessing you are expectant of, can you imagine? God is not going to come from heaven to give it to you. He's going to use. Now I want you to keep in mind that prayer request. I told you today, no one will have their prayer request answered. So that means, let me give you a short ending of my preaching. That means that prayer request you've been having, it means when you leave this door, you will begin to become men. And don't get it wrong, men means both genders, okay? So be very keen who you encounter when you leave that door. Because they might be the ones carrying the answer to your request. So to be able to understand your man of God, there is something you need to be able to understand called service. Say service. They have been making announcements here, and I think I've only met one person that honored that invitation. They said, if you want to serve in any department, remain behind. How many of us had that? Or when it's announcement, we're already gone. It's lunchtime. Right? They said that. But sometimes we avoid service because since our younger age, we were not taught how to serve. This is what I mean. I've had people call me and say they are not working where they are working anymore. And I ask them, why don't you want to work there? They don't allow me to pray. I can't read my Bible. And you know what I look at them and say? Just guess. You did go to work to read your Bible. Oh, you were not expecting that speak in tongues, speak them at home. When you go to work, go to work. So our level of service has become very limited, that we are not able to understand. And this is one thing that people get it wrong. Service is not just by offering an action, it's also by hearing instructions. Because you cannot be able to offer an action if your hearing is not correct. I can tell you, come here, jump. Right? But you start jumping. But what did I say? Come here and jump. So to me, when you did the right thing, you jumped, but you didn't jump from where I instructed you to jump. So that deters the whole instruction. So if your blessing was here, guess what? Even if you jumped, you missed the whole blessing. If you're not getting what I'm saying, begin to speak in tongues, because today if you miss this, I told you today we will see power like we have never seen before. Yeah. If you're not expectant, I'm even ready to put this mic down. I'm ready for the man of God. I wish today we can even bypass praise and watch everything. He just comes here and turns this place upside down. Woo! Sorry for those who are late, but I'm telling you, those that came here this hour, you will see what God will do. Mark your name. You will see those people that came late. Woe unto them. So in your service, you have to make sure that you are able to learn the art of hearing. Let me take you fast forward. When our man of God was teaching us about the rapture, do you remember? Yes. He said, can you imagine all the other trumpets have already sounded? How many of us have had a trumpet last year, 2024? By show of hands. How many of you had at least 2 trumpets? None of us. So how are we going to hear this last one? So can you imagine, we are waiting for a trumpet. We probably have no clue how it sounds like. Because it's telling us it's already sounded. It has already, it's gone. Okay. If you come for me to employ you in my business, okay, and I tell you, day 1, this is what we do. You arrive at this time, you will leave at this time. Okay? Yes. If you don't understand, and I tell you, by 12 p.m. or around during the day, I usually call. So begin to hear when I call. But you didn't ask the question, how do I know, or how do you call? Do you call me by your voice? Do you call me on phone? Are you going to be... The way you're looking at me is like, I'm not making sense. Is this how you are in class? Because I am feeling bad for your teachers. How many of us graduated as A students? Don't lift your hand. Alright? So, we have no ability sometimes when we hear certain instructions to ask, how and how ready am I supposed to be to hear that call? Because when it comes to service, it's all about what you hear and how you hear. Let me give you an example. Last Sunday, we had a very powerful service here. How many of us were here? But can you imagine if I was to hand a mic to everyone here, everybody got a different... If I'm right, you say right. Don't be right. So can you imagine in our hearing, there is a difference coming from the same source. So if you did not experience the release of what happened here today, the problem is not our man of God. The problem is not how he brings the message out. The problem is your hearing. He taught about worrying. Then you read, and I taught you before the first service, I taught you we gain faith by second one. The one who internalize that means